Hey guys, what's up? It's Eli with Night Jiu-Jitsu, and I've got a video today about Americanas. And Americana, whether you want to call it Americana, branch up, garami, double wrist lock, key lock, whatever you want to call it, it's this lock right here. So I'm going to go over the basic application, but I want to get kind of like deep into it and show about maybe like 10 different ones from all kinds of different positions, maybe some you didn't consider, or maybe some you already knew. So first of all, the standard application of it. If Dustin is here, and mount is probably one of the most common places that you learn this technique from. And we usually learn it something like this. I push his arm down, push down the wrist and the elbow. I drop my elbow beside his head, and then I go underneath his tricep, come up here, find my own wrist. So this is partly why they call it a double wrist lock in wrestling a lot of the time, because I have his wrist, I have my own wrist. I'm cupping this way, all 5 fingers over a monkey grip. I squeeze my elbows together through his shoulder. I'm gonna put my head down in a way like this. And I would like to, if I can, I wanna hook his far leg here like this to kind of anchor me, kind of counterbalance me. If that leg is down and not available, then I'm gonna pinch the knee and the elbow together on this side. Whenever I go for the actual execution of this, I wanna concentrate on keeping his wrist smashed to the ground, dragging his fingers down toward his toes this way. Not really concentrating a lot on lifting the elbow up. That doesn't do a whole lot. It's mostly about dragging that arm, letting the elbow lift naturally, and then it puts a lot of torque, a lot of pressure on that shoulder. It takes out the range of motion, having that bent arm like that. So that's kind of the standard application of how we do it. Now, let's look at some little modifications. This is how I feel like I hit it more than anything, is that whenever we get here, I'm gonna go underneath his head like this. So you get a guy who's kind of defending, he's doing a good job here. And I want to just find a little bit of space underneath his elbow here. I'm gonna wedge that up. So I'm gonna crawl, crawl, crawl. Once his armpit starts to get exposed, my hand is gonna reach into that armpit here and hug. This hand is gonna go over the top of his head and hug also. So I wind up with this kind of configuration like this. What's gonna happen next is once we get here, I wanna hike my mount up so my feet come closer to his hips. I'm kind of suffocating him a little bit here. I'm gonna keep the one underneath his arm around his head. I take this one out. Find his wrist on this side. I want to push it out this direction here. I'm using a thumb to move it out this way here first. And then I'm going to loop this back and then drop it back down into the wedge of his neck here, squeezing everything together. And then I'm back at that application of Americana again. One other one that I really like from a mount position is whenever I start to attack, maybe I'm bugging his neck and bugging him here like this, and I'm able to slide up to this side here. This is kind of threatening more about the arm on this side. So he kind of realizes that, and as he does that here, as he realizes here, he's gonna start defending this arm. So as he's defending this arm, I wanna slide this leg up underneath here. So I've got everything sandwiched in to this S-mount kind of configuration. So my leg is here across his diaphragm. I'm pinching everything in nice and tight. The knee and the heel are trying to come together through his head like this. And you see that whenever he defends this arm, this one over here comes out on top of it. So because this one is on top, I'm gonna take the one that's on top because it's easier access. So this hand here is gonna slide in this way, and I wanna scoop up his arm here. So now I wanna go gable grip at first, pull his elbow here toward my chest, and then I'm gonna turn, taking his wrist, or his thumb rather, toward his knee, this direction. And there's a little Americana with this kind of configuration, but it's still that same kind of shoulder lock on that side. So we're still accomplishing the same kind of lock. Moving on to a different position once we get to side control. The way I want to generally do this is I want to make sure that I get underneath this arm over here on this side first. A lot of times this is accomplished because you get to side control sometimes and the guy, before he gets his frames in trying to make space, he's actually kind of hugging around you. So whenever he gets in this position, I want to bring both arms over to this side, and this is a really good, really sneaky way to get kind of lower belts a lot of the time, but you can still kind of trick people into it. So I get my elbows pulled in here. I want to take my south side hand, the one I could touch his legs with. I want to put that here like a karate chop, like I'm going to do a rear naked choke, but I'm going to take this hand and put in the back of my hand against my forehead this way. So the only way he's going to get this arm underneath is either to slide in or to go around. Once I have it here, he can't slide in, he has to go around. As soon as he goes around, I catch, he puts the wrist right in my hand for me, and then I'm gonna push that wrist toward the ground, and I've got it right there. He did most of the work for me getting it there because I set that little mouse trap up for him and then closed it shut. So sometimes we call this the mouse trap or the rat trap or the Venus fly trap, some kind of trap like that. Slam it closed, you got the shoulder lock. So another one we can look at is how we can actually set up a Kimura that leads to an Americana. And this is a really good option from whenever I'm going for this like kind of north-south Americana, where I'm looking to kind of dig up underneath his arm. First thing I want to do is once I get this wedge underneath, I'm going to put my weight on top of that arm to kind of smash him up this way here. And then from here, if I've already got him up on his side, great. But if not, then I'm gonna go here, get this configuration, slide the knee up underneath his spine on this side, and then this knee is gonna come over. I'm gonna pinch his chest here. So at this point, if I'm having some trouble because he's resisting, the direction that he's gonna wanna resist, he's either gonna try to grab like this here, in which case if I try to push into the Kimura, then it's gonna like just go into the grip stream. So instead I'm gonna pull it away to this side over here. Once I pull to this direction, I'm gonna do, it's gonna be sneaky, is I'm gonna slide this arm inside here like this. So I'm making a switch to where this goes here. Now I'm gonna pinch his wrist tight to me. I'm gonna keep this hand flat on my chest or grab my gi if I'm wearing the gi. And then I'm gonna drop this elbow to the floor and pull this leg off here. So I wind up in the katami or scarf hold kind of position. Now, you can see here, I'm being very nice by letting my elbow stick out, but if I pull this back a little bit, it's a lot of pressure, a lot of torque. I'm blocking his hips from being able to relieve the pressure, and that's gonna be really nasty on Dustin's arm. If he's hugging me this way, once I move to north-south, again, I don't have the best attacks for chokes or anything from right here because he's blocking me with his grip. I'm gonna start moving all the way back across this way here. Now, once I feel I'm clear, my hip is clear to the side of his head, I'm gonna hold here like this, drop my weight inside here, and I wanna cup and hug here on his elbow. So the goal here is once I start to sit through, I'm gonna bring this leg all the way through and I'm gonna actually hook his leg on this side. I wanna try to get this leg hooked really nice and tight. I wanna slide back, and this is gonna be a bit like a heel hook. So just like on a heel hook, I could hook with the snuff box here and gable grip, or if it's more comfortable, I can hold with the hand and then cup this direction. And I want to finish it similar to a heel hook too. So rather than trying to over rotate or lean back too far, I just want to push the wrist down and pull the elbow up. And it's a really tight lock right here, as long as I have a good configuration on the legs. I could go over both legs. I like to hook this one here. It makes it really hard. If he wants to try to shrimp away, he's going to rip his own arm off during that process. Again, in our different configurations that we might find from side control, another one that we might see is Keisakatami or scarf hold. That may be broken scarf hold or regular. This is the main difference here. If I go to sit out and I have an underhook on this far side, this is maybe a broken kind of scarf hold. If I were just around his head here, this way, this is standard kind of scarf hold or Keisakatami like this. So whenever we're in one of these positions here, it works pretty much the same way. I'm gonna demonstrate from this standard scarf hold because it's less pressure on my partner's shoulder here, so I don't wanna rip Dustin's shoulder out whenever I'm just demoing it. What we're gonna look at is some kind of straight arm lock on this side. Maybe this, right? Maybe some other kind of way that I'm looking to like just straighten out the arm. When he feels that happening, sometimes he'll slip his arm to the inside so I'm not wrapping it any longer. So whenever I feel him pull it to the inside, I want to reach down and pick up my own leg over it like this. Once I get it over his wrist, I'm gonna figure four this way and try to lock it in place here to where he can't straighten his arm very well, because if he tries to straighten his arm, he runs into my ankle. So then from there now, the big thing here is I don't want him pulling his head toward the lock because it will relieve a lot of the pressure. So instead I'm gonna go S grip up on the top of his head, pull it away, and then I'm gonna act like I'm gonna stand up in base, but I won't make it very far because he's already gonna be tapping. It's a lot of pressure on his shoulder. Again, same thing will still work from this side over here. A lot of times this will happen if he feels me that I'm threatening this arm lock here, he'll start to try to pull this out. And then rather than me pushing this underneath my leg, I'll just pick this leg up here, figure four over it like that, and then come underneath his head, pull his head away. And then the motion that I'm looking for with my legs is this here. So that's a lot of torque on that shoulder. Another place that we can look at it from is the guard. This is an often overlooked one. There's a really powerful one from here that's often referred to as a mirror lock. And so the way this is gonna work is typically when I have this arm wrapped somehow. So there's lots of different ways that I can wrap this arm up. It might be for me getting kind of a modified pyramid guard or something like this here. It might be for me looking to wrap the arm this kind of direction. Whatever it is, when he feels his arm being wrapped, he doesn't like it very much, and so he looks to posture up and pull his arm free. As he does, I want to grab my own wrist, tighten this up, and pull his elbow back toward my ribs this direction. At that point here, I'm also gonna shrimp out just a little bit. You see my ankle hooking on one side, my knee is gonna come through and push into his ribs or chest like that. And then I'm gonna squeeze my tricep toward my lat, and then I'm gonna extend my hips and pull back with my head and shoulders. And it's a lot of torque right there. You see the range of motion, how far I can go with it. So it's a very powerful Americana from there. So we switch roles now, we're gonna look at how I can actually do it from bottom. Typically we say position before submission. I'm in a bad position here. I typically don't wanna attack the guy on top, but we're gonna look at these as kind of countermeasures of how we can possibly get away with it with this particular lock. Sometimes whenever the guy is making a really making some big spaces as he's coming over to try to attack this Americana on me, I can use that opportunity here as he's trying to push to kind of redirect, and look how I'm gonna make the grip switch like that here. And whenever he feels this pull, he's gonna pull back in the same direction. So I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna block it like that. And then I'm gonna slide through this direction. I'm gonna pull his elbow down toward his stomach, and I'm gonna turn his pinky down toward his ribs that way. So this may get the tap, it may not get the tap, but if it doesn't get the tap, the direction that I'm pushing oftentimes will allow me to come up to the top position, maintaining this, and at least I got a reversal, or possibly even got to the side and where I can finish the Americana on that side over there. If we're in this position here, then something I can do, because this may be the result of me not being able to get my frame back in or not being able to push very well, I'm gonna use my bicep against his face here, and I wanna block and bridge, and as I bridge back this direction here toward the post. I know I'm not gonna turn him over, I'm gonna meet resistance here, and as he resists, I'm gonna bridge back the opposite direction here, trying to push him over. Unless he wants to roll, a lot of times this guy here will post his hand out there like that. Now, if he does, if I can get him to post that arm like that here, I just need to slide down. I don't need to grab or push it, but as he starts to draw it back, I'm gonna redirect it down here toward my leg. I pick my leg up, I step it over like this here, and you see how I switch the grip to pull the wrist clear. Now I'm gonna cross here, down by my ankles, here like this, not completely figure four, but closer to my calf and ankle like that. Now that the wrist is locked into place, making it harder, I'm gonna grab up top here like this again, and I'm gonna push his thumb back the direction with moving my knees laterally back toward his tailbone. And that's a really powerful Americana from there as well. We're talking about positions, and we typically think on the ground, but I do want to show one from standing, because I like this one a whole lot. And this is a good one from, if we were kind of in a pummeling situation, we're both kind of looking to dig underhooks. He gets an underhook on me, and I want to try to use that to my advantage here. The thing is, I need to make spacers though. The spacers that I'm gonna create is I'm gonna put my head here like this, so that he's not getting his head underneath mine. And then I'm gonna also wedge to keep this arm away and monitor this arm here. So once I feel that, I'm gonna pinch my tricep back toward my lat, and then I'm gonna slide this hand back and down, make a fist, grab my wrist here like this. My hand is still sticking out, and I'm gonna pull my wrist to the ceiling here like this. So now this is not a lock as it would be on the ground. On the ground, I can control it, I can apply it a little bit more in a controlled manner to where he has time to tap in practice or in sparring. This one is going to be a little bit more applied in a ballistic fashion for whenever maybe this is more of a self-defense situation, or depending on the competition, it might be in competition or MMA. Because this one here, once I get back, I'm not going to go here and wait for the tap, because he has a free hand and a lot of range of motion. This is going to be an explosive kind of uppercut type of motion to kind of really wrench that shoulder, and then go to work on doing other things, other takedowns or other manners. So anyway, guys, that's Americana from like, I don't know, 9 or 10 different places. And this is kind of a basic move that you learn real early on, but it shows you though that I wanted to kind of get across the idea that you can still apply this from a lot of different places. Sometimes it's a result of you trying something else and leading to Americana, or setting Americana up and then it leading to other paths, or finishing it on its own thing. So whether you call it garami or double wrist lock or branch up or whatever you call it, Americana is a really versatile lock, and I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Let me know which ones I missed in the comments and stuff too, because I always miss like 3 or 4, and I'll think of them on the drive home. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you, and keep watching Jiu-Jitsu.